there has been not one death, not two deaths, not three deaths, but a dozen deaths related to scientists dealing with very crucial issues in our society that all of a sudden are just ending up dead. And one has to wonder, what is the correlation here? Well, here's where it comes from. The 11 scientists who disappeared and the research they were working on. Since 2022, 11 scientists connected to U.S. defense, nuclear, and aerospace programs have died or gone missing. No, they're all dead. Some cases have known suspects, others remain unsolved. Different rules, different circumstances, but all tied to highly sensitive areas of research. Federal investigations are ongoing in several of these cases. No single explanation has been confirmed. Draw your own conclusions. Oh, we will. Amy Eskridge, scientist, independent researcher from Alabama. Research and specialties, anti-gravity propulsion, UFO, extraterrestrial research, and electrostatic propulsion. Death and status, case details, died June 11th, 2022. Cause of death, ruled self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigation, FBI status, oldest case in the FBI review. Michael David Hicks, research scientist, NASA, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Sunland, California. Research and specialties. Asteroid characterization, deep space observation, the DART mission, Deep Space One. Case details, died July 30th, 2023. Found deceased at his Sunland residence. Investigation, cause of death. Cause unknown. No NASA statement. Worked at JPL from 1998 to 2022. Frank Mywald.
He looks like the Good Humor ice cream guy.
I was going to say, he's got the whole getup. He just needs the little hat. You know, put the hat on. He's ready to go. Give out the ice cream. Scientist number 3, principal scientist, NASA Jet. You noticing a trend here? Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Los Angeles, California. Research and specialties, planetary robotic systems, JPL deep space missions. You think we're the only ones in the universe, guys? I want to know who still thinks that. Probably
Look, when you live in a country that's 250 years old and walks around the entire globe like it's the cock of the walk, it's easy to believe how people think we're the only humans or the only beings in the universe. Yes, it is easy to see how people do believe that.
Died July 4th, 2024, at the age of 61. Cause of death, undisclosed. No statement from NASA. Career status, principal scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Jen, would you like to read the next couple?
Anthony Chavez, retired employee, Los Alamos National Laboratory, New Mexico. Research classified, decades of work at LANL before retiring.
Lots of that shit goes on in the rural parts of New Mexico.
Oh, yeah. And lots of work, before retiring in 2017. So his case details, missing since May 8th, 25. Status, last seen in New Mexico. Details left behind. Car, keys, wallet, and phone. Oh, just vanished.
Yeah, I guess he got
just left. Just disappeared. Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, that's the only thing that I could think of if he's not dead, is that, yeah, the aliens came and got him. They decided it was time to bring him into their world, I suppose.
I know. I agree, David Hunter. We don't need to insult the foreigners, the actual aliens. And that was something that always bothered me about how we would make our movies that always portrayed that. I mean, up until like E.T. I mean, E.T. was good, but like where it always portrayed them as like wanting to hurt us and like eat our brains and do experiments on us and like that they're so evil. And it's like, that's such a projection. that's how humans would treat, that's how humans do treat each other and other species. So they project that onto other beings. And I always thought that was wrong.
I will say that I agree with Mehdi that the Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 that disappeared on March 8th, 2014, if you told me that that plane was captured by aliens, I would actually be willing to believe it.
Look, my thing is this. If there's beings, and I know there are beings, but let's say there are particular beings out there in the universe that have found us and they can get here, but yet we don't even know where they are, how they exist. Like they're that advanced. They don't want us. What the hell would they want us for? This is what floors me. And yeah, I could see it for experimentation and whatever. But again, that's us projecting this human vile concept of oppressing somebody beneath you and keeping people beneath you. And not all, even human civilizations were like that. Not all. But I don't know that to be true. I just think that if there were something that was that advanced, that you could come from something that we don't, what the hell are you going to get from us? We're morons. We're a failed species. We're going to cease to exist in maybe another couple hundred years. Like I just don't see what's in it for them.
Monica Reza, Materials Processing Director, NASA, JPL, Aerojet Rocketdyne, Los Angeles. Research and specialties, rocket materials engineering, patent nickel superalloy used in Starship and in New Glenn reusable rockets. Died June 22nd, 2025. Details, last seen hiking near Mount Waterman, Angeles National Forest. No trace found despite 2025 research. Yeah, sure.
Again, they're just missing.
Melissa Cassius, scientist number 6, administrative officer, security clearance, Los Alamos National Laboratory, New Mexico. Missing since June of 2025. Research and classified info is research classified and high security clearance at Atlanta. Details, car and belongings found at home, both personal and work phones, factory reset before disappear. Okay, she was murdered, obviously. Family statement. Family
says the other guy, his car, his phone, his everything, and they just disappear.
Family says disappearance was not voluntary. She had plans to care for her mother after upcoming surgery. Yeah, not suicidal. Stephen Garcia, number 7, Kansas City's National Security Campus, Albuquerque, New Mexico. New Mexico. Government research and specialties, government contracting, and nuclear weapons assets oversight. Missing since August 28th, 2025. High-level security clearance verified. Status, last seen on surveillance footage, leaving his Albuquerque home on foot, carrying a handgun, leaving behind his vehicle and personal effects. Details, Albuquerque Police Department, cold case unit assigned. How interesting. Jason Thomas, Assistant Director, Novartis, active DOD.
That's interesting. So pharmaceutical research.
Pharmaceutical research and cancer treatments. I have been saying for the longest time, I actually believe sometime when modern medicine started making its advancements at the end of the 19th, turn of the 20th century, especially with the advent of penicillin, and I believe like 1890, I guarantee you that the cure for cancer cells was probably discovered sometime in the early part of the 20th century, and John D. Rockefeller got a hold of it and made sure that it never went public. And it's never gone public ever since. So when somebody decides to do their own research and figures out that, oh, by the way, the not million, not billion, but the multi-trillion-dollar industry that is cancer treatment and cancer research, Do you really think the powers that be are going to let the general public get their hands on this the way that the general public was allowed to get access to the polio vaccine for no money whatsoever during the FDR administration? Yeah, those days are long gone. And the only reason why polio was probably made free is because FDR had polio. So keep in mind, it's oftentimes...
No, that's not why the polio vaccine was free.
It was free because the scientists who created it made it free. And I'm saying that they allowed it to be free as a result. They could have stopped it. That's all.
Okay, I was going to say it was free because Jonas Salk, who is the person who invented that,
wanted to give it back to humanity. 100%.
Correct.
Yes, I agree. Research and biography, pharmaceutical research, cancer treatments disappeared December of 2025. Body found in Lake Quannapowitt, Massachusetts on March 17th. So it's just a few weeks ago.
They just
3 months after disappearance. Nuno Loureiro, I remember him. Research and biography, plasma physics and fusion science.
This was the guy,
This was the guy who was getting a little too close to the sun, just a little too close. Director at MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center from Massachusetts. What is the issue with fusion power? Fusion power is the technology that could end the use of fossil fuels.
Can't have that.
Can't have that. No way. You've ever heard of fuel cell car combustion? That's one of those examples of such. Now take it up several notches. And yes, fatal event, death.
Probably dead. Like I think, how many of these have there been a body? Just that last one was the only one? Or this one that they've shot him?
Fatally shot outside his home, but on his property. Status is open investigation. I can assure you it will never be a solved case. Carl Grillmeyer, scientist number 10 from Caltech. That's the top of the heap. Llano, California, research and biography, astrophysicist, Caltech. Died.
I like the case details and investigation. It looks very thorough.
Shot dead on his porch, February 16th of 25. Investigation status active. Fatal event outside his residence. As I said, you will never hear the end. You will never get to the bottom of this case.
That looks very thorough.
And finally, William Neal McCasland, retired U.S. Air Force Major General, former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You're noticing a trend here with Albuquerque as well.
Wow, and he's missing.
This is an Air Force Major General. This is a guy who's at the very top of the U.S. military and the U.S. military-industrial complex. Research and biography, hypersonics, directed energy systems, and advanced propulsion. Again, patterns. Investigation status active. Last known details, left home on foot with only a .38 caliber revolver. This happened. This happened like two other times already. That this is the third time we're reading this.
I just don't I don't. This just doesn't make sense. But thank you for those investigations.
Sandia Mountains, New Mexico. You know, the one thing I am convinced of that I'm sure you probably are as well. MK Ultra never ended. Mind control, especially at this level of secrecy, is probably far more common than people think. Now, is this embedding chips in people's heads and activating the chip when they decide that this person has to be taken care of? I don't know. But whatever it is, there's something more than what meets the eye here. And whatever they were working on, which clearly involves the highest levels of national security, global security.
It's so funny that that's where your mind goes, to mind control and flipping a switch. I'm just picturing some mafia guys pulling up and taking somebody into a car and saying, this is how this is going to go down. And you pissed off the wrong people, or you know too much, so we have to get rid of you. I think that you think it's much bigger than that. I don't know that.
Well, look who showed up this evening. Operation Mockingbird.
Hey, Tony.
Well, I would agree. Here's a short clip that brings it all together.
I'll start off by going through this Substack article because it documents the cases of the scientists quite well. It's a good overview. It says it's by Sue Sell on Substack, and it says the mysterious case of the vanishing scientists, a timeline. For nearly 2 years, scientists researching UAP and defense-related aerospace technology have been turning up missing or dead. This is beyond a pattern. 1 missing scientist is worrisome. 11 missing or dead scientists is downright diabolical. Now, we will add here that at the time of this article, which was in early April, it was 11. We think it could actually be more than that now. Nonetheless, it's interesting to explore some of the links that Sue highlights here. Several of these cases, she goes on, and when those scientists had connections to each other in top secret aerospace programs, something nefarious is being covered up. Several of these cases involve people walking away on foot from their homes, leaving all identification, wallets, and phones at home. This is not normal behavior in the 21st century, and according to the loved ones of these missing persons, it is not normal behavior for them either. Let's examine the timeline. So we have July 4th, 2024, Frank Maywald, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory,
We don't need her to
JPL,
go
and this
through
is
all the
something
things
that
we
will
just went
come up
through, if
quite a
that's
bit
what
here.
this is. We don't
Let
need
me
her to
see
read
if
through
this
all the
is-
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Realizing she'd forgotten her security badge, returned home to work
This
from
is
there the remainder of the day. Her daughter Sierra talked with her, then headed to work. Melissa brought Sierra a Subway sandwich for her lunch, then returned home again. When Sierra returned home from work, her mum's car was in the driveway. The house was locked and all of Melissa's belongings were inside, including her work phone and personal cell phone, which had been factory reset, wallet, and keys. She was last.
So that also seems to be a common theme with what has happened here. What's the saying? Once is an anomaly, 2 is a pattern, or 2 is a coincidence, and 3 is a pattern. And what you have here is a pattern in terms of how these scientists are being removed. They are basically following a very similar protocol. Getting a handgun, walking out into the mountains, factory reset on all of their phones so you can't trace anything that they were working on. And
this is true too, though. And that's one of those, like going back to the piracy comment that Trump made, where it's like, we're pirates. Yes, we do that all the time. And Chuck is correct. This kind of stuff does happen. Several years ago, there was a whole rash of holistic medical practitioners that all went just missing or dead. Like a whole bunch of, like whether it was acupuncturists, like just different types of holistic practitioners. So no, this does happen. Exactly.
I'm going to say this. Capitalism plays a role, but what it really comes down to is global dominance. That's the big thing. There are so many layers to the fact that the United States is hanging on by a thread as the global hegemon because we don't take care of our citizens. It's one thing if we were living in a country and you think about some of the empires that lasted for many centuries, British Empire, the Ottoman Empire, heck, even Genghis Khan. They typically took care of their people. And that's why they were able to get the Roman Empire. That's what, you ever read The Richest Man in Babylon? There's a reason why these empires lasted as long as they did. Our empire can't last because we don't give a shit about our people. The people who run the show, they hate us. Like they hate our guts. They hate for even questioning it. And this is, again, the whole concept of the looting of the treasury. The whole concept of the Trump boys getting super rich off of scam operations through government contracts that allow them to run these hedge funds or, capital organizations. It's just one more layer in this broken system. And when these scientists discover a multitude of different things, cancer research, probably a cure for cancer, aliens in a faraway part of the galaxy that are making communication here on this planet. What does China have on us? What does India have on us? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I could go through all of them, but the point is, any information that could be leaked to the general public that pulls back the veil that is this broken empire, they have to put you down. They can kill one, they can kill several, they can't kill everybody. They would like to, but they can't do that.
They can prolong it. They prolong their profit. That's what they're doing. I mean, they prolong their profit, but yeah.
This is an example of them buying a lifeline. That's it. It's just buying a lifeline. It's not a lifeline that lasts. it's a lifeline that will inevitably expire. And they're just kicking that can down the road, however much longer they can get away with it. But there's too much noticing going on now. Murdering scientists, the only reason scientists get murdered is if they've struck gold in a way that isn't advantageous to the ruling class.
Yeah, they know something. They need to be permanently silenced.
Correct.
They can't be bought. They usually will try first with that. You know, like I do, again, this is where I think like old school, like the first, they try to just get you to come on over and side with the family. And they, you know, but once you don't, and you cross the family, it's not, it doesn't end
Not going to
well.
end well.
It's not going to end well. You don't cross the family.
You never talk business outside the family.
No.
The family makes you an offer you can't refuse. You refuse the offer, and then you disappear. So don't disrespect your Don. That's all.
Exactly. And that's what that was good, actually. That was, I mean, I think that's what the message is here about all of that. Because what happens is these scientists get funding from whatever sources they get their funding from. And when you get funding from certain sources, they kind of own your ass.
Yes.
And whatever your facility, whatever you are, somebody's grant money, somebody is funding whatever it is that you're doing. And if your research doesn't support the narrative that they needed to support, they'll try to get you to do that anyway. And then if that doesn't work, then this is the alternative. That's how I see it. I mean, I guess I could see your idea of like brain control too, but this is an Occam's razor thing.
I never claimed that my Brando was my best impression.
No, I thought it was good. Shunt Guy, no, that was good. I wouldn't say it was great.
Well, Shunt Guy's been talking shit about me in the chat for a while.
Shunt Guy, cut it out. That was actually good. I mean, I wouldn't say he's great Brando, but he was great Don Corleone.
Well, that's the whole point.
Right. He's not right. I thought, yeah. Oh, it's good.
And
yes, you may file a complaint. Everybody, please feel free. Just file away. File away your grievances.
And let's bring it all full circle. This is like the same argument that was made against somebody like Peter Hotez, who I always suspected was somebody who can never be trusted, because this is the guy who not only was telling you to go out there and get the shot, get the jab, but he was the guy who was advocating for you to get a series of booster after booster after booster. And who does that? Somebody who works in science but is paid, like Dr. Fauci. These guys are not anybody that is put in front.
You make him sound like a Muppet.
Well, listen, Dr. Fauci, he's a very interesting guy. He takes a lot of money. And
no, that sounds more like someone else. That sounds like someone else.
Okay. Point is, if you have a scientist that is a feature or a featured player on corporate media, don't trust them as far as you can throw them, because there's always going to be a profit motive stuck behind them. Those are the people who are not concerned about telling the truth. Here's a little truth that cannot be overstated. We are the only developed country on earth that has a for-profit health system. And somebody like Hotez is never going to say that. And neither is Fauci. And regardless of whether you think the shot works or whether we should trust anybody connected to Big Pharma, one undeniable truth is that we have a for-profit health system. We're the only developed country that has it.